Hey, what's up? I'm Brett Griffin. It's time for another solid episode of Door Bumper Clear. We're going to be joined by my buddy, Marty Smith, who tells amazing stories. You won't want to miss that segment. We're also going to cover everything from the inaugural Bristol Dirt Weekend. We'll talk TJ and Joey Logano's victory, Freddie needing some glasses, and, according to Corey LaJoy, no visibility. Let's go.
Nobody's listening, but I don't care. I'm on an episode of Door Bumper Clear.
Hey everybody, I'm TJ Majors, part of the one truck, 22 Cup car. Got a donkey in there and full room in here.
Big winner last week. Congratulations, Spotter.
Big wiener.
Yeah,
You did a great job. Since Joey didn't say it on TV, I'm going to tell you here, you did a great job. He
Yeah.
thanked everybody
I know,
but
it's all
TJ
right.
Majors, the guy who helped guide him through a demolition derby at times where you couldn't even see.
I know.
No credit given.
Damn, Joey. And you think about it, man.
Brett Griffin Spotter, Colic Racing. I was actually couch spotting over the weekend in case anybody
Yes,
wasn't
you
paying
were.
attention.
Don't worry, you tweeted enough for
And
us.
alongside of me,
What's up? It's Freddie Kraft, spotter for Bubba Wallace, spotter for Derek Krause.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that second one.
At times.
Oh my gosh.
Nobody else this weekend, right? Nope. Back from a dusty Bristol Motor Speedway.
Thought the track was great.
Yeah, I bet you. TJ, we're walking to our cars afterwards. It's like, I hope we do this again next year. I love it. I changed my mind. I love dirt racing.
We got to our cars. I'm like, man, this was so much fun, guys. We need to do it again next year. I can't wait.
I was just gonna say, last week weren't you like a little bit against it? So now,
I mean, I was optimistic about it. You guys were pretty much against it, weren't you?
Yes.
And I was
still
more
am.
optimistic about it.
for multiple reasons.
If it didn't rain and ruin that, like, I don't know, it was that rain ruined a lot. It might have been a fairly decent show. I mean, the dust was still going to be.
I think the rain saved them. I think the rain made it entertaining. I think
Yeah.
the rain made the start of the truck race awesome. But I think the rain made the start of the cup race awesome. And then I think once the rain, what was left over from the rain, the moisture was completely gone. It turned into a dust bowl.
And I would say, Brett, you had a good point about making it. We'll go into this more.
Who are
Sure.
you anyway?
Anyways, I'm Casey. Casey Boat here, and then we have, of course, our
Donkey.
amazing donkey,
Hey.
Jason.
So, Jason,
Jason
I am
White Claw Schultz here.
I'm proud of
Wait,
you.
you weren't drinking a White Claw this weekend. I checked.
Incorrect.
I'm proud of you, Jason, for working so hard on our show that you got promoted to do 2 shows, unlike everybody else in this room who's jealous that you work on the download. But I got a bone to pick with you. How come, like, here's what happens. And maybe Freddie will help back me up on this. Like, you guys will tweet out our show, and then the minute you tweet out our show, it's like 10 more posts about Dale Jr., then you pin him. Like, you just bury us in social. Like, when are we going to get equality? I'm all about equality in today's world. When are we going to get fucking equality on Dirty Mo Media social channels?
I don't know. I think
Who runs the social
I think,
channels?
is Leah
it
on
Leah?
Zoom? Leah's on Zoom. She's going to wear you out here in a second.
And does Dillner
Freddie,
do any
back
of
me
it?
up on this.
Oh, we do get buried down the timeline a little bit.
Freddie knows his place, that he needs to. He knows who the boss is here.
It's like they don't get enough attention already. I mean, Dillner was starving so much, and he tried to tag me in a tweet, and he wouldn't even tag Dale Jr. in it. He wrote Dale Jr. without even putting his name in
How
there.
many times a week does Dillner click the heart or reply to Dale Jr. on Twitter?
As many times as
I bet
Dale.
he has searched his first tweet and went from the beginning.
Do you think he has Dale Jr. notifications on? Like
He probably
does he
does.
get notified when Dale tweets?
He has
Yes.
Google Analytics. Like anytime Dale's name comes up, I bet you.
He's sitting up there just giddy right now, waiting for a tweet to come up.
So, Jason, pull some strings. Get us
More
out
tweets.
from
He's
underneath.
not happy. Look at his face.
Get us out
He's
from
editing
underneath.
all of this out of the show.
it's
no.
staying in.
He's got that head down like,
We deserve, I mean, I tweeted it last week. We deserve more love. When are we going to get a pinned tweet on the channel?
When you stop cursing, so you don't make Jason's job more.
Speaking of cussing, I got my COVID shot last week. Went and got my first COVID shot.
What does that have to do with
yeah,
cussing?
what?
I cussed. That thing hurt. Actually, the shot, man, doesn't hurt at all. So it was a drive-through, man. It was the craziest thing. I went to North Iredale High School, and I drove through, and a lady walks up, and she asked me a bunch of questions, and then she sticks me with this needle, And she's like, you can go over here for 15 minutes and be observed, or you can leave. I was like, oh, what could possibly go wrong? So I just drove back home, right?
Yeah.
But, man, it makes your arm super duper sore. Have you got yours yet?
No, my wife has.
Yeah.
So, and she complained about her arm a little bit.
I got mine. And what I think needs to happen in our sport is if you can prove you've had your shots, you should be able to go in the infield, go in the garage. That is the point, because you 95% immune to COVID. You obviously are saying, hey, I'm good. You should be able to go in the garage.
It does suck when you win, especially at a track like that. I would have liked to have went. I mean, been cool to go inside. I'm just saying, like it.
What I don't get about it, TJ, is how do you get to the racetrack normally? I mean, obviously there you got to drive, but
with
you
the same guys that are there.
You flew with them,
Yeah.
so why can't you go to Victory Lane with them?
I mean,
And
it's the same with family members too.
I have minimal contact with anybody. I mean, just the spotters, really. You're in your car the rest of the time, so it's not like you're out and about, you know.
Oh.
So
I think there should, now that we are further along.
I
in
think
this
it's
whole
coming
deal,
eventually here.
I
but-
think wives and family members should be allowed in.
I
mean,
think
you're-
they are.
you're
Joey had pictures with his wife and kid.
after the fact, though. But I do agree with the vaccine part, and I also think that there's a lot of companies like sponsors who.
Why do wives need to go in there? Curious.
Well, they're as much a part of the team as like.
Are they?
Yes, I have to speak for myself here.
I'm gonna sit back.
Yeah, I'm not going to get involved in this one.
We do as much. I mean, the sacrifices that we've made. I know Brittany has to deal with her kids. She has a lot while Joey's traveling.
It's really tough being a millionaire's wife. It's so hard. Unlike the crew chief. I'm sorry. Unlike the shot guy's wife, like she definitely doesn't deserve.
Well,
to go
I'm
to the
saying
race.
I'm saying any family member. I feel like it's.
You just said
there's
drivers' wives.
You said driver's
I
wives.
just meant it
You
as
did say
in
that,
Brittany
though.
last week, like and those in Victory Lane,
Is it,
because
so all the wives should get to go.
all of the family members.
That's
yes.
never happened in NASCAR history that all the wives
know.
are at the racetrack.
If they're able to go, I mean, I know people who go if they're able to. Like they'll go to Charlotte race week. Freddie,
I'm leaving.
Freddie's red.
He is.
I'm laughing my ass
because
off.
I know Megan would like. She has made a lot of sacrifices while you are
Are
traveling.
you kidding me? Look at me. I'm
So Megan deserves to be at the track over the CEO of FedEx.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like.
I'm serious. I'm asking you a
No,
valid question.
I feel as though if you are able to go to the track and you are around the people that you're around, you know, I feel like there should at some point.
Well, I feel like the
soon-
tire guy's wife is just as important as the driver's wife.
You're kind of
I-
backtracking a little bit, Casey.
But I do
hate
agree.
to,
Oh
like-
my gosh. I just meant that like family members are making as much sacrifices as
Oh.
I'm not getting my point across. I clearly have not had my coffee this morning. I just meant that
You were 10 minutes late. You had plenty of time to get coffee.
I was not 10 minutes late. I was about to say something really nice about you and now I'm not.
It's
You
okay.
can take it back now.
Anyways, I just meant that family members don't get a lot of credit, and it would be nice if
You said drivers' wives.
I wish that this were
I'm
a live
just
show.
messing with
I
you.
just wish this were a live show with a live audience right now.
I'm just messing with you
so that
'cause
I
know
can see
it's
what
getting
the
you
live
wound up.
audience would be
Let's take
thinking.
DBC on the road.
I literally meant family
let's do
members
it.
in general. Okay,
Okay.
you're just giving
All
me
right.
now.
Bristol.
It's dirt, baby.
So, did you do anything to celebrate your win?
Yeah, I drove the road course home and had to back it down halfway down the mountain because I could smell the brakes on the car.
I don't even go that way anymore.
You ever do
I
that?
don't either.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I did that, and I'm like, what is man, there's nobody in front of me, and I can smell the brakes. This is not good.
So one time, a long time ago, John Wood, and y'all know John Wood, and John Wood in his 20s was a lunatic.
He's like he is on Twitter right now. He's
a
hilarious
full-blown
on Twitter.
lunatic. He literally rode the brakes the whole way home
That's not a good idea.
and caught the car on fire. He caught the car on fire.
A rental car?
Yeah, yeah. But
That's-
but there was another time, and there was another time that we, you know, all the teams have those 15-passenger white vans.
Oh yeah.
So he went to his grandpa Glenn Wood's house, and he proceeded to power brake this van. So he's got the front brakes held down and the rear
Yeah.
wheels just spinning. Blew out both tires.
Nice.
Dug ruts in the concrete driveway and just left it.
Send it.
John, we should get John Wood on here because if I can get him to start
Yes.
telling on himself, it would be hysterical.
He is hilarious. Some of the comments that he makes on the Wood Brothers.
So
account.
John Wood is the grandson of Glenn Wood, and the son of Eddie Wood, who is still running the Wood Brothers. Eddie and Lynn Wood run the Wood Brothers along with Kim Woodhall. Great people. They lost Bernice this week, which was sad to see. Such a sweet lady, such a big part of NASCAR history. But no, John's an epic character.
His comments, man. His witty little comments are hilarious.
And he runs Wood Brothers Racing Twitter.
Yeah,
His
it's
Twitter,
hilarious.
that Twitter handle is pretty funny.
He
Yes.
does a good job with it. Some
Yeah.
of the things I'm like, just kind of, but it's funny.
No, it is
He
funny.
So-
says what you're thinking most of the time.
I want to know. Tell me more about Bristol. Obviously, we couldn't be there. So, could
Did you
you
go for a
see?
swim on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah.
What?
Did you go for a swim on Saturday and Sunday?
No.
Sunday was,
no. I didn't even go to the. I don't think I got to the track. I think, but
Sunday?
So, did you go to the bar instead?
no, Saturday. Sunday, I never made it to the track.
Saturday,
Right?
you were at the track because they started the truck heat races.
Yeah, but I barely got there, and then I left as soon as they pulled.
You didn't make it.
The truck heat races, when everybody except for maybe a couple people in the tower knew that was not going to be a very good idea. I mean, yeah, roll them off here. There should be. Oh my
mean, they
God,
ran
there
these
can't
dirt-
see a thing.
They ran these dirt late models out there for about 10, 15 minutes, too. There's 4 of them,
And
4 or 5.
and they are built to run on dirt and had zero traction. Like could not. They were slipping,
It was
sliding.
They were
everywhere.
definitely sliding up the racetrack a little bit in the beginning. It was honestly for those cars. By the end of them, was perfect for like going
Yeah,
out
for-
there and running a fast lap, like gripped up. You know what I mean? But
We've probably never had a situation where it was more dangerous than that
No,
that's the
no, not
most-
under green.
yeah.
because the whole field couldn't see.
You weren't there, obviously. Did you have a NASCAR radio on for that? The start of that?
oh yeah,
When the pace truck pulled out in front of the
Yeah.
so they go yellow immediately, and the pace truck pulls out, and they start yelling at him, no, he can't see you, get out of there, because
Yeah.
they thought he was just going to run over the back of the pace
And it
truck.
literally, they couldn't see in half a lap.
so
Not
they
even.
went by. They took the green into one. I was like, oh, that's pretty decent. Like, and then they come around the next time. I was like, there's no way they can see. Like, no.
Bubba started like, I was watching Bubba. He started like 8th in that heat, maybe. And
You should
I
have
think
watching
Bubba's the
Derek.
truck I was watching the windshield on.
and he shot the middle and passed like 2 rows of cars, because I think it was like Chase Purdy, maybe, or somebody on the outside
Yeah,
pole.
they got checked up
and he
a little
was
bit.
he was struggling, so he slides and he's sideways, and Bubba just runs straight into him. I'm like, what's he doing? Like, what? Pay attention. And then they show his in car, and you can't see a thing. So by the middle of 1 and 2, you were already done. You couldn't see anything.
Wow.
I mean, this was pretty much the worst case scenario for what
Yeah.
for
It
what could have
it
happened.
just-
I mean,
like we talked about it leading into this, and
that was the most rain I've seen in Bristol in a long
Oh,
time.
yeah. But I'm
too.
just talking about that scenario right there.
Yeah.
Just went to show how little they know about what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way that was going to work.
So,
You give Marcus Smith major props for having big kunas
Hey,
because
listen.
he goes for it.
And they
he ain't
made
scared
it-
to try something.
They made, like, listen, the amount of work that went into that, you like little small details you think about. They had to rebuild the gate in turn 3 just to get, because obviously if you built the track up, now the gate's not going to open up. So they had like little the amount of work that went into it is amazing, and it wasn't a terrible event, but like you knew all the issues that were going to pop up along the way, and it just, like I said last week, it's a great idea if it works out great, but there needs to be somebody in a better position to make decisions, because all the stuff we talked about last week happened this weekend.
It did, absolutely. We warned them.
I mean, yeah.
I'd have to say the dumbest thing I saw during the whole process, though, was only 3 minutes to prep the track in between the 50-lap stages or 50-lap runs, because that's where the track was going to crap and going quick. Like, you have to take the 15 minutes or however much time it takes to water the track down and get the surface back right, because when you guys are going green and you can't see, that's just stupid.
So I Monday nights now, I've been doing this thing the last couple weeks with Brian Dunlap, Walkopedia,
I thought
Brian
you were going to
Walker.
say
Mondays.
Megan. I was going to be like, all right
No,
then.
Midget Mondays.
Midget Mondays, yeah. And so I got in there the week before because we were talking about Bristol Cup race, and then I said, well, I got home and they were still going. It was, I don't know, like 11 o'clock. I think I was on there like 2 in the morning talking to these guys. But Chase Briscoe was in there, and he was talking about the guys that run dirt. Chase, Larson, Bell, Ricky. They were telling them, and listen, I don't know why this is, but they were saying the way they were doing that, when they were just watering the top lane and maybe the very bottom under the brakes, was making it dustier.
It makes it more dusty.
Like, and I don't know why that is, but you know what? Chase Briscoe knows why that is, and all these guys that run dirt all the time know why. So why would you not listen to the guys that do this all the time? Like, if they're saying this is going to make your track worse, okay, let's try something else. And they did at the end there, but for like when we got to that restart with 100 laps to go, and the last double file restart, like if you weren't in the top 3 rows, you couldn't see
were
anything.
done. Yeah.
Like coming down the front stretch.
The sun made it way worse.
Oh,
Guess
Well,
what? It's a day race on a
know.
dirt track.
I
Yeah.
was just gonna say. So what? Knowing that we are doing this again next year, besides you said making it a night race,
Sure.
having a
I
longer.
don't think Fox will do that. I don't think Fox will make this a night race.
I don't know if they can.
I don't think they will.
I think it should be a night race, but I'm okay with prepping the track a little bit more.
I think the tail's wagging the dog, and it won't happen.
I think the track prep could do it a little bit more. That was a lot. I would have liked to seen some of them runs go a little bit longer because I didn't see anybody blow a tire. I don't know what the length of a tire wear of a run could be right there. Maybe they could only run 5 more or less, but I know that it was kind of fun seeing the guys that could move around a little bit and see the guys that saved the tires because there was actually some, Bubba ran right up on us and he was running that lane that used tires up a little bit more. And then you kind of got right to us and then kind of fell back a little bit. Joey was just creeping around the bottom saving his tires, and we were able to run the leaders down at the end, and I feel like we were better than them, but we didn't want a chance. We wanted the outside lane restart, and we wanted to be fourth. Or we didn't want to be third for sure. So we just rode around in fourth because there was no points for that deal. That was the 50-lap thing. So we rode around there, and I feel like that's what Martin did. Martin was so fast, he'd wear his stuff out. And I'm not 100% sure watching. I wish Bell and Larson were, I'd have been in a great race with them out there still too, but they were flying in the beginning. Like Larson, Bell was so fast, so was Larson, but there was actually a driver, and this is something that we don't see a whole lot. We only see it a small handful of times a year where a driver has to manage his stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw that. So
I think what you're afraid of is compounding the problem where the track itself might turn into a little bit of a show. And then you've got a track that and these guys just continue to blow tires, you're going to get
I don't
killed
I don't
by
want
everybody.
tires to be blowing. I just don't know what the length. Could they have run another 25
well, I mean,
laps?
you're worried about the I mean, I'm sorry you talked about your practice tire where when the track slicked over a lot for on Friday, and that's why they changed the whole format of the race because guys were wearing their stuff
100
out.
might have been too long, but I just don't know what the longevity of it would have been. But I liked that there was actually some. Hey, a guy saves his stuff like Carl Edwards used to do at Atlanta. You used to ride around and save your stuff, then you haul ass at the end of the run.
If I'm a racer, I don't know that that's a good race. If I'm a race fan, it was a great race.
Yeah.
It was truly.
I've
it
seen
was truly
people
a great
that-
race. There was about a 30 or 40 lap segment where it got really single file and boring. But after that, it was right back dusty. You couldn't see the restarts were nuts. Then they went to single file. Like all the crazy things that were happening were awesome to be watching. I can't say that they would have been awesome to be spotting or awesome to be driving, but it was.
It was
awesome
fun
to watch.
seeing these guys make mistakes because these guys, the Cup Series guys, don't make many mistakes. And it was fun seeing a guy miss the bottom a little bit, hurry up, try to cover it back up, a guy be there a little bit, maybe bump a little bit. There was that type of stuff. Even that long run, I mean, we all ran Truex down. Suarez all over him, shoves him up the racetrack. To me, seeing Suarez up there moving that guy for the lead, I mean, Daniel Suarez just moved Martin Truex for the lead. When are we going to say that again this year? But
He's not a dirt racer. We'll
and
he
he
We'll
was
get to it in a little
wheeling
bit.
it. He's driving the heck out of it. But it was just to me, I thought it was a good race. Just watching the drivers have to maintain their stuff and hit the marks like they were having to.
Well, I think we have to keep going, but I will say that
Why the Belgian download is done for the week.
No, we'll get into all this in a little bit.
yes, we're going to talk about it. But I think that it got people talking about it. I mean, the Today Show, tons of coverage. I think national coverage that we
It
don't
got a
normally
lot
get.
of attention.
So
For a fan, it was awesome.
I
For
loved
media, was
watching
awesome.
it.
The one of the things that I think another more inexperience in the booth, in the tower, I should say, is not knowing when to throw a caution. We saw in the truck race, and obviously I'm biased to this, just like TJ loves the racetrack because he won. I'm biased because my guy spun out and didn't get a caution somehow. But we saw this
He was so good, he kept going.
But we saw it in the truck race. How'd that work out when there's a guy out there with a flat tire running around half throttle? Kyle Larson destroyed him because you can't, for one, in the Cup race, you can't see. And two, there's guys sliding around in front of you. So there's a guy right in front of Larson, and I think it was Mike Marlar had a flat. And Larson's pinned up against this guy's bumper. This guy moves, and Larson has nowhere to go. You can't stop. You can't slow down because you're on dirt. And he ass packs this guy and destroys his truck. Potentially, could have hurt himself there. And then, we throw cautions for we spin out. We've got a flat. We do a 360. We keep rolling, and we're slow as down the backstretch trying to get down to get to pit road. Guys are going by either side one at a time, and we don't get a caution. We talk about consistent. I don't care if you don't ever throw it. Don't ever throw it. But this is why if you ever watch a dirt race, the second there's a problem, flat tire, somebody breaks, whatever, the guy's out of the groove, the yellow's out immediately because there's a lot less car control. These guys can't avoid. We saw it's harder to avoid accidents on a dirt surface like that, and you just ask for trouble when you got a guy out there rolling around half throttle. I don't understand why the caution wasn't thrown, but it sucked. Ended my day. But
I will say there was at one point one of the guys in the truck race pulled low on the front stretch, slammed on the brakes, stopped, and then took off as soon as the yellow came.
That was Norm.
Yeah, that was
and
Norm.
they finally penalized somebody for.
They didn't penalize him then. I don't think it was Norm that time. It was somebody else.
No, it was.
It was.
It
it wasn't Norm. No, there was another guy.
Norm stopped in the bottom of turn
He cut
one.
a tire. And
No,
then
this
went,
is on the front stretch.
Yeah. Well, okay. On the turn. I saw Norm stop the end of the front stretch.
and then keep going once the caution.
Yeah,
was
and then
pulled.
took off.
Did you know Norm is 179 years old? I didn't know he was that old.
It's pretty old.
They flashed his age up on the broadcast, and I was like, holy crap, that guy's old.
How old is he?
179.
I just laugh. We talk about this on here though too. And we've said this before. It depends on who you are. Like we have seen Kyle Busch spin out intentionally. All these guys spin out intentionally, no penalty. Norm Benning does it. They throw the guy off the racetrack. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he could not have made it more obvious.
And he also came
trust
out.
me,
and
neither did the other
like
guy.
he,
He damn near caused a big wreck when he came off pit road too. I mean, clear all the way to the fence. Here comes the leaders. I mean, I thought they were a
Norm.
little rough on Norm at times, but I've seen people do worse. Yeah, I mean,
Got Marty Smith in a little bit, so let's get going.
yeah, we got to keep going. Anyways, let's hear more about our presenting sponsor, OfferPad.
all right, our friends at OfferPad have launched an exciting new promotion with their NASCAR program this week. Brett, why don't you tell them all about it?
Man, here's the really cool thing, TJ. If you go to offerpad.com/test drive, offerpad.com/test drive, you automatically qualify to receive a free Denny Hamlin Hero card and a free Denny Hamlin sticker just for putting in the information to get the value of your home. So go visit it right now, offerpad.com/test drive. Enter your information, get a free offer on your house. And Freddie, they may be surprised how much this offer comes in at.
Are you saying? Hold on. Did you say that you get free Denny Hamlin swag if you submit your house?
You 100% get free swag, and 50 people are going to get a signed Denny Hamlin hat.
I am going to sign my entire family up. I think.
I love it.
Yeah, when you find out how much your home is worth, Freddie, tell Megan it's time to sell. I'll gladly come help you move your stuff. Just kidding.
Thanks, TJ. Brett and I will work on cleaning out my bar while you carry out my big ass couch.
I'm damn sure good at cleaning out a bar. Go to offerpad.com/test drive, answer a few questions, get some Denny Hamlin swag. You may win an autograph hat and find out how much your home is worth. And that all happens within 24 hours.
Let's get ready to sell.
Home selling with OfferPad is as easy as
Welcome to OfferPad. How can we help?
list with Flex and get our house ready to show.
Ooh, that's home listing with muscle.
House updates to help us sell for more.
Sure, Reno Advance. Our team is on it. When we're through, this place is gonna look amazing. You know, I have this feeling. It's never wrong.
OfferPad Flex. We got this. A better way to list your home. Start your free sales request at offerpad.com today.
Spot on, spot off. First topic. Dirt ringers Christopher Bell and Kyle Larson are taken out in a wreck after 54 laps of the race. Spot on, spot off. Freddie.
Spot off for the show because I think that they would have been up front battling for the lead. I don't know if Larson would have been able to keep his tires on, but if he could, he was getting ready to wax our asses because he drove from last to like sixth in 50 laps. So if he could have kept tires on, he's probably the guy to beat the rest of the day. But the thing that stands out to me is these dirt guys are brutal, especially to each other. Like, you can't make them like their expectations are so high for one another. Like Larson was pissed off at Bell. Like Bell did this intentionally. You know what I mean? Like,
way to go, Bell.
Like Bell did not intentionally spin out, but they have like such a high expectation of each other. Like he's committed to running that line because Christopher's not going to screw up. And sure enough, Christopher screws up and now ruins both their days, and he's pissed off at him. But yeah, that's the only thing that I laugh at. I think Wyndham did it last year. Somebody spun out in front of him and he hit him, and he was mad as hell. And I'm like, I mean, I don't think the guy spun out on purpose.
It was just ironic that it was literally the two of them.
Just racing, man. It happens. I mean,
Freddie or TJ, what do you think?
Man, it worked out great for us. I didn't have to race those two guys. Those two guys were going to be at the front together at some point. Like Freddie said, I don't know if they were going to be able to keep the tires on it because I think one thing against them in this, when they run them dirt races, there's no saving yourself in them dirt races they run. You are wide open for as long as you can for 30 laps and you're done. That type of mentality seemed to hurt guys, and that one run seemed to hurt guys that did that stuff. So, but they were definitely I was like super surprised how fast Larson made it up to the top 10. I looked back there and I'm like, all right, we're 8th. Oh, Larson's 11th. Oh, already.
Casey, do you and Chad console each other when Bell has a problem? Do y'all like sit around and have to hug it out and cry it out? Like what happens in the boat household? I know you guys love him, so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
I am spot on because where are the dirt guys? When were they relevant? They weren't relevant all weekend. They didn't lead a bunch of laps. They didn't win stages, and they damn sure didn't win either race. Spot on. I thought that was a great unknown. Fast cars go fast. Those guys struggled in the truck race. None of them were relevant. And in the cup race, same thing. I looked up there, top 10 in the stages, and like you got Ricky Stenhouse at 9th. You got Ricky Stenhouse obviously up there continuing to win at the end. But outside of that, man, the rest of them were completely irrelevant. So spot on. A nice surprise, I think.
This goes back to us talking about how good our drivers are, and they adapt. And we talked about it last week. So our guys, I don't know if they would go to World of Outlaw car or they get lapped there, but they adapt to what they're given.
It would sure be fun to watch them. Spot on, spot off. Brett, you, of course, just have to cause some trouble. Brett tweets, dirt cars don't usually have spotters. That wreck looked like several cup cars didn't have a spotter either. And then Corey LaJoy chimes in with, visibility was 0 out of 2 with the glare, so be easy with the couch spotter take.
If you don't get a couch spotter T-shirt made,
I'm going to see if TJ and Freddie will speak to what I was actually tweeting about, unlike Corey LaJoy, who I wasn't tweeting about. When Eric Amarola wrecked, y'all remember that wreck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. When all those guys piled into to the wreck, could the spotter stand see the racetrack at that time?
I'm going to leave this one to Freddie. He has some experience in that area. From the truck race.
You could see.
You could see perfectly fine.
I wouldn't say perfectly fine, but you
could see fine.
You could see well enough to make a decision on where you wanted your guy to go.
You could see that your guy needed to check up. Let's put it that way.
Oh, 100%.
That's all I got to say. Martin Truex, somehow or another, he saw it. His spotter saw it. He slowed down. He didn't get in the wreck. Anthony Alfredo is still in the gas trying to pile into this damn wreck, and it was 2 days ago. So Anthony Alfredo and his spotter need to get on the same page. That's who I was talking about. I didn't say about a driver. I said spotter. Corey didn't even know what he's talking about. He texted me this morning. What happened was I got out of the car, and I was mad, and your tweet was the first one I saw. Well, congratulations, Corey.
Don't worry, Corey. He texted it was your fault. Lay into him.
I don't know. First of all, let me just get this out of the way now because we're going to have a whole season of this. When Brett is at home watching the races, he is better at everyone's job.
Of course I am.
Especially when alcohol is involved.
He can call the race. If he's on his couch, he's really good. If he's on a bar stool, he's the best.
The best.
But, I will agree with Corey. The drivers couldn't see. But this wreck, there's a lot of different layers to this wreck, and there's one guy, and you picked him out, Anthony Alfredo, where 10 spins, he's got the brakes locked up, but he's still sliding up the racetrack a little bit because, believe it or not, we're on dirt. The 78, Golubic clips him. Not really a lot that he could have done, I don't think, differently. And then there's a pack of cars coming. It's the 38, the 7, the 15, and the 19. And off of 2, you see the 38 just accelerate away from them, the rest of the other 3. And he actually, he center punches, the 10, and that's who kind of knocks the 10 down into Corey, and then that's how Martin's got to weasel his way through there. But you could see the 38 accelerate, and I think, obviously, I'm going to, especially this week, I'm going to defend the spotter in that situation only for the fact that I saw last night on Radioactive, the crew chief made a comment like, I don't know what he was doing. He just drove right in there. So it almost sounds like spotter might have been calling it, and maybe driver didn't listen or what happened there.
You got some experience in that area?
But I don't know. We'll get to that, I think. But
which I also said on Twitter that the spotter may have been spotting and the driver might not have been listening.
Yeah.
Regardless, it looked like Anthony Alfredo didn't know what he was doing and did not have a spotter. That's what it looked like on TV. So back to the point of no visibility or visibility, at that point in the race, you guys could see. Now, go to the restart where Chase gets a little sideways and Blaney gets in there, and that whole top row of cars couldn't see a thing. At that point, could spotter see?
No.
I saw the car get spun, and that's the last thing that I saw.
I was the last car that you could – so we were 7th maybe around that at that restart, and we were coming off of 4, and I could not see Chase outside of us. And all of a sudden, he kind of comes down – like I see his nose pop out like on our quarter, and he hits us, and we kind of all get jumbled up there. And then Blaney, but I don't know how any of them guys behind us, I could see our car and like the nose of Chase's because he was back at our quarter, and I couldn't see a thing behind it. I was like, they're wrecking behind you. I don't know what it looks like.
I couldn't tell that it was the 12 car that spun. I saw a car start to get spun, and that like I could just tell something wasn't right. I couldn't even tell what car it was.
Yeah, that was the second to last double file. Then they had one more, and I forget who it was, but it looked like I think maybe the 14 possibly, like came down on somebody, and that was it. Then they went to single file, and they had to. There was no option.
I like Corey. I hope he gets the season turned around. I mean, he's back there in points, and when you're back there in points and you're finishing bad, TJ gets to start from the pole this week because of where he's at in points, where he finished, fast laps on the track. It's hard to start in the very back around a lot of them clowns and expect to have a good day.
No,
it's tough.
It's hard. We had to do that a couple times. Just not way back, but like 15, something like that. And
yeah,
you got to chip away. This is going to be a process. It's going to take a few weeks, a few decent finishes to up where you're at. You know, for Corey, they're going to have to chip away at it and get 3 or 4 spots at a time. Yeah, and I hope Corey gets it turned around as well. I was actually excited to see how that team did this year. You know, with Corey going over there and stuff, I was really, really looking forward to seeing how they can put this year together. But really hard. I didn't see the beginning of that wreck. I mean, I saw it start, but I didn't see a replay of Alfredo coming in there late. But it was late enough that I have a hard time you know, the spotter probably was saying stuff in time at that point. So that's just my gut instinct on it. You know, that wreck was happening.
There are
for a
no
little bit.
quick resets in real life.
There's
Anthony.
no fast repairs.
Calm down.
No
Keep us
fast
rolling,
repairs.
Casey.
Single file restarts implemented for the final 81 laps of the Cup race. TJ.
So I was watching a World of Outlaw race 2 nights before that, and right in the beginning of the race, they come on and said, all restarts will be single file. We're also reducing the race length to 25 laps instead of like 35 or something like that because the track was really, really rutted up, and it was pretty dangerous. If you had to drive through the ruts, your car was going to bounce, and they turned 2 or 3 of them over. So, but right in the beginning, and it did help the restarts. It didn't, obviously, for track position, if you're a guy in 20th, it didn't make it any easier on you. But honestly, I didn't find it really putting anybody at a disadvantage at that point. You kind of got rolling back where you were, and then you could go back to work. And it was easier to see, definitely easier to see, I thought, because you just didn't have that two-wide train coming down the front stretch. Yeah, so, and I'm kind of glad NASCAR just stepped up and made a decision on it and went with it.
So, Freddie, you're next. Tell us why, obviously, for those that were not as much of a dirt race fan, why they went to single file restarts.
Just like TJ said, just visibility purposes, I guess, for us, for the drivers. You know, when you want to stretch the cloud out almost. It's not going to be as heavy if they're too wide. Plus, you're not too wide trying to race somebody, you know, and not being able to see. Like I said, the last 2 restarts, you could not, and it was right after, I think it was the 150-lap break.
Yeah, it was.
Where, you know, they literally restarted, and like all day long, there'd be getting times where the cloud would roll in, or maybe the sun would be at a certain angle, and I would tell Bubba, like, hey, it's pretty tough off of 2 right now, or off of 4. And it was always off the two corners, of course. So, but there'd just be times where it got a little bit heavy, but it wasn't too bad. And then they went on that restart, and I was like, I can't see like nothing. Like at start finish line coming at you, you could see the first 3 or 4 rows, and then as they came to you a little bit closer, you could see more. But off of 4, you couldn't see anything. Through 2 was really heavy. It was hard to see. They wrecked the first lap, first couple laps after those 2 restarts, and thank God, because we wouldn't have been able to see them. So then it was absolutely, obviously it's not ideal for racing wise, the fans are going to see double foul restarts, but it was necessary. There was the call they had to make. Yeah,
safer for sure.
That's why the World Outlaws, every restart they have is single file. The open wheel cars, they don't want to start double. They start double file to race, but then every restart single file. I'm pretty sure the midgets are the same way.
Nobody complained.
No, I mean, it was like I said, it's not ideal, but it was definitely necessary.
I'm spot off just for the fact that this wasn't in the conversation before the race started, that, hey, if this happens,
couch spotter,
we may do this. And I'm also spot off because I feel like had they taken the time, like I said earlier, to have the track ready, they'd have been able to keep the double file restarts. But in reality, have we learned anything here is my next question. Because if we have, next year we start the race, like Freddie said, double file, and then we finish the race single file restarts every time after that. If they do this again halfway through the race, I can't accept that. We live and learn on this one, but we got to learn from it.
I think that if you went back now, and hindsight's 2020, and they can do this next year, we could have restarted double file for that last 50 laps because the racetrack was better.
But they took the time to make it.
They took time to water it. So, I think going into next year, I mean, the biggest things I think you're going to take away that you want to do differently, night race, because at that point the sun was starting to set a little bit, shaded, it hung on for 5 or 6 laps. Race got to be shorter. We talked about the race was too long. You got to 150 laps and the track went to on you. Like that's what the dust came from. There's no reason it needs to be more than 150 laps.
More structure around rules.
More, and then taking more time to get the track ready. If you want to make it a halfway break, make it like TJ said.
Yeah, 100 and 100. I'm fine with that.
Or even like if it's going to be 150, 75 and 75, then then you're probably going to keep the tires on the car. But it's just, there's a lot of different things we could have done differently. But that now you learn that if you do rework the track a little bit more, instead of taking 3 minutes, 10 minutes, are you going to lose your audience? I mean, you're more of a viewer at that point. Are you going to lose the audience? Are they going to leave because we're taking 5 extra minutes to rework the racetrack?
I think it pumped them up and gave them a chance to come.
Yeah, they're more excited to go, okay, what's going to happen now? It's been single file, So, you could take a little more time and keep your double file restarts and keep the racing better. The racing was great. The racing suffered a little bit in that middle stage, I thought. And then when we went green, that's when you and Denny started putting the show on there where you're racing each other.
Before that.
Yeah, I bet. But
I liked that.
That I thought it was racier for 10 laps, 10 laps.
Yeah, it was about 7-8 laps.
Guys could move around a little bit. But like
for sure,
live and learn, and we'll get better at it, I'm sure.
Denny Hamlin tweets, I want a redo after the overtime restart on the Cup race. Brett, spot on, spot off.
Spot off, Denny. There are no redos in life. I would have taken a page out of Dale Earnhardt's book right here, and I would have kind of done the old famous Terry Labonte wreck there from back in the day, 98, 99, 2000, whatever that was, that Big E dumped old Terry Labonte.
He was just rattling his cage.
I would have rattled Joey's cage, Denny.
Yeah. I wish I could say what Denny did was right here, but, I mean, what was he waiting on? What does he think Joey would have done to him? I mean, I think that he thought
Joey would have wrecked him and then grinned about it.
When we smirked, I think that when we fired off there, Denny was really good, and I think that he wasn't. I think that he wasn't forcing the issue because he thought he was going to get him. Like one of them deals. Like, well, I'm better than this guy. I don't need to force it right here. But obviously, the 22 pulled away there at the end, and then I think we talked about the visibility off of 2. I think he got in the fence off of 2, just pushing it because I think he said in one of his interviews, he's like, I didn't know where the wall was. And that was a product of the wall being painted black, which was not a great idea. But, so he goes up there and pounds the fence, and that was really the end of his race. But, it was going to get interesting there. I thought you guys were, it was behind us. There was 3 or 4 cars between, in front of you guys. And I was like, if they jam the bottom up here and Joey can't get off the bottom, Danny's been working the top for 4 or 5 laps now, giving up a little bit of ground. But if he gets stuck on the bottom, he's going to have the top working. And he were able to kind of pick your way through traffic before he get there. But I thought it was going to get interesting there at the end.
They prepped the track, and it definitely made the second lane usable, and it was going away almost about after 7 laps. It started going away, and Denny was committed to it, and he just kept driving harder and harder, and he just jumped the cushion in 1 and 2. I was watching him when he did it and hit the wall, but that's all he really had to try. He could have got on the bottom, but honestly, it was the way we were driving at the end was like an asphalt race, and he was getting tight behind us because he was shoving the nose when he'd get within about 2 car lengths in the middle, 1 and 2. The front end would take off on him. So that's just from from what I saw. But catching the lap cars, holy cow. Like, it was like, here we go. And Joey was actually very patient and just waited until we got the right run. He didn't try to move up and give up a lot of position. He waited until the door opened and the guy slid up a little bit, and he kind of worked his way underneath there. But, going back to Atlanta, none of those guys moved out of our way. None of those guys. And I even came down and said something to you because how many did you finish on 1 down? Or what were you?
2 down.
But still, you're racing for something at that point, and you caught the caution right then.
Yeah, it's good timing for you because I was getting ready to lock the brakes up and let the boss man win. But
but I mean, also we caught the 48 down there. The 14 ran us hard. He's trying to stay on the lead lap. 48 even ran lower down the backstretch when we were trying to get inside of him, running us really hard. Like, we didn't,
it's because they don't like you, TJ.
Well, according to Atlanta, comments from Atlanta, the 48 was running our lane, even though he was in front of us. That's our lane. He needs to go ahead and move out of the way next time. I guess that's what you're supposed to do. But Joey was just very patient, and I was worried Denny was going to find some grip at some point up there and go by. But it had to be exciting. It had to be exciting.
It was.
It was not fun to spot.
Entertainment value of watching that race on television is 100. It's an A.
Yeah,
that's why I'm having Marty Smith on here. I want Marty's perspective, and we'll get Marty's perspective about what it was like to watch it.
It's a pain to spot a leading car when a gal's running the top, finding speed like that. It is not fun. Like 3 back with a run, 2 back, 1 back, out, clear.
Yeah.
Daniel Suarez leads a career high number of laps and finishes 4th after Freddie's comments last week.
Which good NASCAR Cup Series driver, say top 20-ish in points, is going to be the worst at dirt track racing at Bristol? Because we don't expect
Suarez be included in that?
Yeah, he's a top 20 driver.
Like, that's something that's probably completely foreign to him. Where he came up, the path he took. A lot of guys haven't been on dirt, but I feel like he come from a completely different world being down there.
I hate
Mexico.
to compare you to TJ right here.
I nailed it.
But he said it was going to take Larson a while to get used to this package again. And Larson come out and won a race. And now you say Suarez is going to suck, and he goes out and wins the stage and finishes
So
freaking
basically,
good.
whoever you bash is going to end up doing well.
Here's the problem with the dirt race. We didn't run a dirt race. We ran an asphalt race on dirt.
That's not true. Did you see the beginning of the truck race?
Beginning of the truck race was a long time before the beginning of the cup race.
You're like Case earlier. You're backing up, man.
Not a chance. I mean, the guy did a great job. Obviously, I was wrong, but the where you guys where dirt guys gain, where a dirt guy, it's like much like a road course racer, where a dirt guy has the advantage over a non-dirt guy is throwing the car in the corner, getting it to hook up, running the cushion, whatever. Did we do any of that?
There wasn't a cushion.
There was no. All you did.
There was a cushion when Denny was running the top.
Yeah, for 3 laps, and then
7.
Then
You said it was 8 to 10 actually.
But I'm talking about that's after a rework. Where was it the rest of the day?
It never built a berm like a berm.
No, we never had a true cushion.
The problem was, and we saw this in practice.
I had a cushion under my ass.
And moisture. We had moisture up there. They were using for grip.
The track went to the line you had to run, especially like practice. I don't know if it got as bad in the race, but it was pretty close. You ran the same line you did when they put the PJ1 on the bottom. As low and straight into the corner as you could, and just hook the bottom all the way around and try to keep the right rear tucked in on exit a little bit.
Yeah, by the end of the race on TV, it looked like the old concrete Bristol. Like, I'm talking the one from before they did the rebanking of it. So
I liked it, though, because guys like Martin would run a lane up. You ran a lane up into 3 or half a lane up, and you turned down. It was fast. I was counting Joey down. Hey, Bubba's running this line. He's really fast right now. And I'm like, Joey wouldn't move, and I'm like, is he like, hello, is this thing on? Are you going to move up and find? And then he told me, he's like, I didn't do that because I felt like it's burning the right rear out. So, and it showed, but you're right. It looked like an old Bristol. If you missed the bottom a little bit, here comes that guy, which I I wish we could do that again.
I just wish, and I think it's why you see it more at Eldora, because one of the biggest issues was we're not on a dirt track.
Nope,
you know what I mean?
we're not.
It's not like the trucks are going to go to Knoxville, and I think that's going to be a way better show at the end of the year because that's a dirt track, and it's kind of built to run that way. And this is, and like I said, the same thing we see at a road course. Why is AJ Allmendinger really good at road course racing? Because he can drive in 2 car lengths deeper than somebody, get it slowed down, hit his apex. Like anytime you watch data like that, you're like, how the hell is that guy getting in the corner like that? I can't do that. Whatever. Same thing. Like if this thing is tacky and slick and there's a cushion, it's freezing. Them guys are going to show, they're going to have an advantage because they can throw the thing in the corner a completely different way, yaw it out, and make it work. Where now you're going back to straight, low, slow on entry. Like it's not going to lend itself to a guy that's been running dirt all of his life.
36 cars, 250 laps. I've never seen a dirt race with that many cars like that.
No.
Many laps.
I was honestly surprised because I think the truck race, obviously, you're getting a little bit further down in experience level, but the truck race, I think the longest green flag run was like 13 laps or something like that. So and we talked about on here, what would we say, 75 laps, and I was surprised, and I think it's a product of adding those extra cautions. But we ran them. I don't remember a lot of wrecking. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a couple big wrecks, but I don't remember. It wasn't like we had a wreck every 10 laps like the truck race did.
There was way more mistakes though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which I like. These guys are finally making mistakes and missing corners and stuff. We don't ever see that.
We talk about it on here all the time. We want tires to wear out. We want the cars harder to drive, and that was it. So maybe we just cover everything in dirt. Hell with it.
Done.
What was the leading? I saw your tweet about what tracks people want covered in dirt. What was the leader?
Man, I don't know. There was people literally all over the place. I just think it's a shame that Bristol Motor Speedway lost a date again next year. I hate to see that. Like, I wish there was a way to still run two Bristols and then do the dirt thing, right? But obviously that's not the plan.
Does Bristol just become a dirt track now?
I don't know.
I hope not.
They run a lot more events there now that are dirt than they did before.
That's the thing. I mean, we were running 5 or 6 races a year. They put dirt down. And
they've ran
20.
more dirt races in the last 2 weeks.
They've got more coming. They're running
Outlaws and stuff.
I'll tell you what. I can't wait to watch that World Outlaw race there.
They're going to be so fast.
I don't know if I can watch it. It's going to be hard to watch. Are you crazy?
Why?
They are going to haul ass around there. You want you want Chad to get out there and do it?
I don't. It just looks. It's so cool. Like that track is just from a TV perspective.
It was scary to me.
It was so cool.
I've watched them run Syracuse. That was scary to me, watching them run Syracuse.
I was in that Midget Monday deal, and they were talking about like how they have to prep the track to be like really slick, like gravel was in there. And he was like, I hope they make it slick because if they make it tacky where there's any kind of grip, he's like, it's going to be too dangerous.
Too dangerous.
Way
fast.
too dangerous.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Spot on, spot off. Freddie bails on Bubba Wallace in the truck race and stays with Derek Krause, who clobbered John Hunter Nemechek after his spin. And then, of course, JHN had this to say.
They're towards the end of that whole deal. The 19, I guess him and his spotter both need a pair of glasses, so I'll have those for him at Richmond.
Bring them. Maui Jims tweeted it.
What happened?
So my end of this.
See what happened was.
And you guys have been here before, I think.
No, I don't know if I came into a wreck
No, Brett is never wrong. So.
I've never wrecked 7 seconds after the first.
It was way more than 7 seconds, I think. But, like if you're in turn, which we're in turn 3, maybe 4, and this wreck happens in 1. 2. And I'm like, it's not a wreck. It's not like, oh, check up, go down, you know what I mean? It's not a panic, so I'm like, all right, you gotta stay low 1 and 2, stay low 1 and 2. And the yellow's not out. Like the yellow doesn't come out. We're already sliding when it's a late yellow, and it's tough to see, whatever. It's a black truck up against a black wall, so maybe that's a problem. But like when the yellow comes out, we're sliding already. Like I know, like we started sliding at the end of the front stretch. And I talked to Derek a little bit about it, and I just said, what happened? And he said that and we talked about this on the show last week. He said, I saw the 4 truck, panicked, jumped on the brakes. As soon as I jumped on the brakes, truck spun out, and I was sliding from that point on. Like, so it's just I probably had to do something differently to make him better aware of. I don't really know exactly what I should have done differently, But I need to do something differently, obviously, because we wrecked into a wreck that was an hour later. But, in my mind, I was like, it's going to be easy to miss this. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, it's car up top. Stay low on 1 and 2. Stay low on 1 and 2.
Good luck.
Holy we're sliding.
Hang on, we're coming.
I was like, I was dumbfounded when I watched. I was like, did that just happen? Like, son of a... of course it's happened. And we're racing the out of like Timothy Peters and Stewie or somebody's in front of us.
Timothy got stopped.
And no, he didn't. He wrecked.
Nah, he didn't wreck. He just stopped.
He hit the wall.
Barely. Better than a truck sitting there.
Well, he was going straight. We were backwards. It's hard
just
to go
saying,
backwards.
He kept going. He didn't finish it on the apron with all the fluid on the track.
Well, the guy that was up there the guy that's been racing trucks forever was wrecked with us there. So.
Oh man.
But
so clearly spot off. Assuming.
Spot. No, I mean
spot on for the comments.
Spot. I like the comments. I like John Hunter. I mean, I used to, but
you might have Richmond if he brings you glasses.
I was gonna say if he brings me the right pair of glasses, I'll be back on Team John Hunter. But I get it for him. I mean, he spins out. He got dumped.
I wonder what Garrett Smithley was thinking when he heard that clip.
I was just thinking that, man. Garrett high five somebody when that happened.
Maybe he was on my radio.
Who needs enemies when you got friends like this? Oh boy.
Oh, no other comments there, Brett?
No, I thought it was funny.
Freddie just made everyone else more valuable.
So Freddie texted me in the middle of last week, and he's like, "Hey, I got a spot for Kraus. You want to come up here and spot for Bubba?" And I was like, "Man, I can't because I had some things already kind of going on." And when I watched this,
we should have done it.
When I watched this go down, I was like, man, thank goodness, like Freddie didn't spot for Bubba and need me to spot for Kraus and me actually been able to do it because then I would have looked like an idiot.
You do that all on your own, don't you worry.
I think everybody's involved in a Bristol wreck that just something happens in front of you and just like there's just it's kind of I don't know the driver just racing so hard at time just kind of it only takes a few, like 2 seconds of.
No, I was like,
what do I do here? Oh gosh, you know what I mean.
Yeah,
stuff happens fast.
I think he got caught. I think if I had to guess, he got caught up racing the guy in front of him. Just thought I could run into one and stay low. It's not going to be a problem. And then saw, just panicked. I think he just panicked, locked the brakes up, and then it was over. Like he started wrecking before the entry to one. Like as soon as he turned off the wall and he saw he got on the brakes and it was over from that point.
We all have our moments where we live and learn. I was at Richmond. I was spotting a bush race for Michael Waltrip. This would have probably been like 2001 or 2. And we were 2 wide getting into one. At the last minute, somebody crammed it 3 wide on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't say 3 wide. So Michael entered like he was 2 wide. We got punted. And he called me after the race. And he's like, was I 3 wide right there? And I was like, yep. He said, why didn't you tell me? I was like, it's on me. It happened so fast, I just didn't tell you. Guess what? That never happened again. So you take those moments where you screw up. And look, we all do it, man. We're humans. That's what makes the show what it is. I've screwed up my share. I've caused wrecks. I own them. I'm a man about it. Big shoulders. But, yeah, that deal was fun to watch, Freddie. Sorry.
I got that at Pocono with Dale Jr. We were back in 28th on a restart, and we went down into one. We were on the bottom, and Colwitt thought the way bottom was going to be better. And turn one at Pocono. And I told Dale Jr. before the race, during the race, hey, once you get to the end of the pit wall, you're kind of responsible for the inside of the car at that point. And we go into one, get spun out. He comes down across, and we didn't hit anything, thankfully, but and he's like, why didn't you? I didn't know there was a car there. And I said, well, me neither. So, and I'm like, he goes, was there a car there? I'm like, I don't know, man. You're a mile away from me. I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? I don't know. You can't tell sometimes.
I'll tell you something else that came out of this whole deal was, so now we're wrecked. We're sitting over there. They go red to clean the track up.
The water from the radiator.
So Derek's in his truck, and I can't see the right side of it. Turned out we had like a broken truck arm. The truck's wrecked. But I can't see. I know we slid in, but we're not going that fast, really. So I don't know how bad the truck is. So I'm like, don't get out. When they go back to red, back to yellow, we'll come down pit road and look at it. Well, the safety worker's like, hey, get out. You got to get out. He's like, they're telling me to get out. I said, no, don't get out. You don't have to get out. There's nothing, you're fine. So they're telling him, your truck's tore up. You're not going to, you're done. So now the safety worker is telling him, you're done. So then, whatever, they go back and forth. I'm yelling at my official. I'm like, tell him just leave him alone. Well, if we come down pit road and we're done, he'll go to the care center. He's fine. Yeah. So then they get us fired up. They tell us to fire up. to get kind of pointed.
Yeah, you got in trouble.
So they point. So he fires it up. The guy's telling him, "Okay, go ahead. Go ahead." So he fires it up. He's moving. They start yelling at me, moving under red. So I stop. He's like, "Well, the guy's telling me to go." So now here you go again. Now this guy almost gets parked because the official's telling the wrong thing. So then the guy reaches in the truck and hits all the switches. And Derek's like, he broke the starter switch off. Like, what are these people doing over there? Like, if the guy wants to get out, if he thinks his day, the problem is I don't know if you guys understand this or not, but if Derek gets out of the truck right there,
you're done.
I'm done. The race is over. No matter what the right side of the truck looks like, your race is over. You're out of the race now. You come to pit road and they go, "Oh, it's just a tire and we had to beat the fender out." Oh, too bad. Sorry, your race is over because you got out of the truck over there and went to the care center. So, like, listen, if you guys are safety workers or tow truck drivers or whatever, just make sure the driver's all right and then let him decide what he wants to do. If he wants to get his car towed, pushed, whatever, just do it. Like, why is a safety worker reaching in our truck and hitting any of our switches? I don't understand that.
Here's what always makes me laugh, right? I see a driver, he's been in a wreck, he's mad. He gets out of the car, and the first thing they do when he gets out of the car is they grab him and they touch him. Man, get the off of me. I'm pissed off. I don't know you. I'm fine. I don't like people touching me anyway.
No.
Don't be grabbing me. Like I'm watching on TV. I'm like, man, why do you feel the need to touch this guy right now? That's the last thing he wants is some stranger touching him.
That's like, I have a bone to pick here when after you wreck and you get out of the car, like a midget, or like when people interview you right when you get out of the car.
They do it all the time at Chili Bowl.
Oh my gosh. Dylan's interview is my favorite, but anyways, we won't get into that.
That's honestly the best interview. I look forward to those.
Oh, I know. I mean, for a fan's perspective, it's awesome. But
get
a
true
driver
thoughts right
just
then.
wants to kill somebody.
Yeah, but I'd rather have an interview than the guy touch him.
Yeah.
I laughed. There was a guy. Was it Casey Schumann? I think last year.
Oh
no. It was Marcham. It was Marcham. 2 years ago, Aaron Reitzel wrecked him, and Aaron Reitzel's a big dude. And Casey Marcham's like, he's wrecked me twice this week, and if he wasn't so damn big, I'd go over there and whoop his ass.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Oh.
All right after this break, we're going to have my longtime friend, Marty Smith from ESPN in the house.
All right, this Door Bumper Clear podcast is brought to you by our friends at RacingUSA.com, America's online headquarters for NASCAR merchandise for more than 20 years.
The entire Racing USA team wanted us to personally congratulate TJ and the entire 22 team on their historic win at the inaugural Bristol Dirt Race.
They also wanted us to let Joey's fans know that a Race Win t-shirt and 3 Race Win diecast are already available for pre-order at RacingUSA.com. A 124 scale autographed by Joey, a standard 124 scale, and a 164 scale.
In addition to being Google's top-rated store for NASCAR merchandise, RacingUSA.com automatically discount items in your cart so you get the best price. They offer free upgrades to expedited shipping.
Racing USA guarantees the lowest pre-order prices. They ship all in-stock orders the next business day.
RacingUSA.com currently has merchandise available for 39 different drivers. They also give away a $200 gift card to one lucky fan each and every month.
So whenever you want a new diecast, t-shirt, hat, helmet, or a novelty to show your support for your favorite driver, be it Joey, Chase, Kevin, Kyle, Martin, or someone else, you need to shop RacingUSA.com, America's online headquarters for NASCAR merchandise for more than 20 years.
Mark Dog, how you been, brother?
What's up, big time? Man, I'm paying rent. You know how it is. I'm a very blessed man. Everything's great. My family's good. Work's crazy, but y'all know about that. I can't complain to y'all about that. But dude, I'm if I complained, I ought to have my ass whipped.
So I got to ask you, man, we've been buddies a long time. Laney's put up with you for even longer than that. How many years you and Laney been kicking it?
It will be 21 years on May 20th. How about that?
Wow, how about that, man? That's good stuff. We go way back, so I want people to hear how you got into NASCAR, how you became such a big fan, and ultimately how you ended up at NASCAR.com, which is when I met you.
Yep. So it was really an interesting path for me because as a kid, of course, I grew up in Appalachia. I grew up in a little farm town in Southwest Virginia, about 20 miles west of Virginia Tech, called Parisburg. And my buddies and me all farmed, and our families owned farms and whatnot. So I kind of came in a climate where I looked at Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty and David Pearson like gods. And so I grew up a Davey Allison fanatic as a kid. And then when Davey died, I just couldn't find another guy. Like I couldn't, for whatever reason, it really impacted me. And then as a junior in college, fast forward several years to when I was a junior in college, about 5 years later after Davey passed, I was at the time what's called a stringer. And any of y'all who know anything about the newspaper business know that that's somebody that newspapers pay per article, basically. And I was covering high school sports for the Roanoke Times newspaper in Virginia. And when the school year ended, they sent me to cover the local short track, which was then New River Valley Speedway. It's now called Motor Mile. And I was not into NASCAR very much at that moment. But, dude, 2 laps into watching Philip Morris and Jeff Agnew beat the absolute hell out of each other to win a Saturday night show at New River Valley Speedway, I went, I know what I want to do with my life. And from that second on, I made it my mission that I was going to NASCAR and I was going to get to Cup as fast as I could. I didn't know exactly what that path was yet, but when I graduated from Radford University in '98, I got a job in Lynchburg, Virginia, and my 2 beats were Liberty University football and NASCAR Cup racing. And so I went to like Martinsville and Richmond and Bristol and Charlotte, the regional tracks that I could drive to. And I wrote a NASCAR column every week, one of which was on a guy named Paul Brooks. Brett, I know you know who Paul is. Paul, at the time, had been promoted to Vice President, Office of the President was his title. And he was from Lynchburg. And his mom called me, still lived there, and said, "Hi, Marty, wonder if you'd like to do a story on my son." Well, sure. What's your son do? I figured it was going to be Joe Bob Jordan, the street stock driver down the street. And she said, "His name's Paul Brooks." I said, "All right, what's Paul Brooks do?" "Well, he just got promoted to Vice President of NASCAR." And I went, "Well, hell yeah, you need to give me Paul Brooks' number." And I called Paul and we hit it off and I wrote a piece. And one thing kind of led to the next, and a job opening happened here in Charlotte at what was then NASCAR Online, and it was only 3 or 4 years old at the time. That's how old we are, y'all who are listening. Hell, there wasn't an internet when we were in high school. But anyway, I moved to Charlotte. I went from making $12,800 a year to making about 19, and you and me met and started drinking beers every single day and running around the country chasing race cars. And you talk about the time of your life, man, because the only thing that mattered was fast cars. And like, I was just so full of wonder at that time. I'd never been anywhere. So you know what my first race was with NASCAR corporate? Sonoma, California. So I got on an airplane and I flew from Charlotte to San Francisco, and I landed in San Francisco, and I got out and I got in a rental car and I went, holy, I don't know where I am. Did I land on Mars? Because I'd never been anywhere. I was as country bumpkin as you could find. And man, from there, it's just been one blessing upon the next, upon the next, upon the next. And y'all, Brett ain't lying. He was one of my first friends in the sport. He really embraced me, and we raised more hell than you can shake a stick at.
You're the first person to come on here that ever said Brett ain't lying. But I mean, so I get asked this all the time because maybe I picked up the torch where you left it, but we've been running pretty hard for a while now, and I mean, I always say I can't because I can never think of one. Do you have any good Brett Griffin stories? I mean, because everyone I could tell is not suitable for public knowledge. I don't think so.
Yeah, the vast majority of mine are better left locked away over here somewhere too.
We definitely don't need to tell on ourselves right here, Marty.
Please do.
I'm trying to think of one.
There's no PG ones to tell.
No,
I
there's
can't
really
ever find
not.
one.
I mean, like, we had a rain out one time in Richmond. I think a damn tornado came through.
It did.
And I don't even remember what year that was. 2001, I don't even know. It was years ago. And NASCAR, in an unprecedented maneuver, canceled the race for the next day. So we're all stranded in Richmond.
That's bad news.
With nothing to do. So I can tell you that young Mr. Griffin and I found some random bowling alley, and we bowled. We drank them out of beer, and I think I sang "She Thinks My Tractor's Sexy" 47 times on the karaoke box.
For sure. Marty, one of the things that you did, and I'm going to compare you to Barney Hall right here. Barney Hall came in, and he was really good at developing relationships with the drivers. We don't see that a lot with our media. Like, we may see them have one person they got a relationship with, but when I got here, man, I couldn't believe how close Barney Hall and David Pearson were, and Barney Hall and a lot of the drivers. Yeah. You came in here, and you didn't just work to be a media member. You worked really hard to be in the relationship business with these drivers. How in the world did you do it and do it so well? Because I don't see that these days.
Well, honestly, brother, that hasn't changed. My philosophy and my approach haven't changed. The sport has. And I mean the sports I cover. I take the same exact approach with like college football coaches and players. I take the same exact approach with professional golfers now, world famous horse trainers, whoever that is. I'm a relationship guy. And when it comes to the drivers themselves, I mean, you and I came in an era in the end of the 90s and the early 2000 era where Dale Jr., Elliott Sadler, Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, all these guys who are just badass human beings. Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, all these guys, they're fun dudes. And they were all really young like us. They were our age. They were all racing Busch cars, which was a different world than Cup. When I first came in, I covered the trucks and the Busch Series, basically almost exclusively. I did some Cup, but it was pretty rare in 98, 99 that I was doing Cup Series. So we'd go to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to race on July 4th weekend. And you remember Summerfest?
Oh yeah. Big deal.
Hell, we'd go watch the damn Violent Femmes play on the front row and with the drivers. And so it was my whole philosophy was pretty simple. Like, I like being liked. It's one of my greatest insecurities. And so that's the approach that I take. Like, I try to develop beyond a rapport. I want a relationship with those people with the caveat, and you can ask every one of those people that I just mentioned. They all know if they screw up, I'm reporting on it. And I'm going to be as honest as a human being can be. I'm going to be fair and I'm going to be accurate, because if you screw up, it's on you. It ain't on me. And so, like, I remember in 2006, I guess it was, when Johnson broke his wrist surfing on top of a golf cart like a jackass. So
after about a bottle of tequila.
Yeah. Oh, he was on one. And so I report that, and he was furious at me that I had reported it. And I'm like, dude, like, you're the champion of. He's like, why is it news? That's not a story. I was doing it on my own time. And I'm like, brother, I understand that it might be frustrating, but you're the champion of one of the 5 biggest sports on earth. It is news. And eventually you're going to understand that that was not my fault. If I didn't report it, somebody would have. It would have came out. And I honestly, it's better for you if I'm the one saying it, because I'm going to be as fair as human being can be. So, that was kind of always my approach. And again, it still is. Like, I feel like I have really good relationships with a lot of the most famous and successful coaches in the history of college football. And I like it that way. Ultimately, I'm able to get some stories and some insight that maybe some other folks can't as a result.
Awesome, man. So when you look at your career, you leave NASCAR.com, you go to ESPN. I didn't know that you were going to become as big as you did in the TV world aside of reporting. Did you know that opportunity was going to be there?
Not just no, but hell no. And I'll tell you, it was interesting, brother, because so kind of the story behind that is my son Cameron is now 15. And he was born in November of 2005. And in the springtime of 2006, he and I were riding down the highway in my pickup truck. We'd gone to Costco in South Charlotte to get a sheet cake. For what? I don't know. But it comforted him as an infant to be in my truck with Eric Church playing. So I took him on this ride to get this cake, and my phone rings. And I'm super shady about numbers I don't know. Like I screen everything. But an 860 number pops up, and for whatever reason, I felt led to answer it, so I answer it. And it was a guy on the other end named Jack Obringer from ESPN. And he said, "Hey, Marty, my name's Jack Obringer. I need you to keep what I'm about to tell you under your hat. It's not for public knowledge yet, but we're coming back into NASCAR. We're going to be broadcasting the sport again starting next season. And I've begun the process of putting together my reporting team for our ancillary programming. Sports Center, we're going to have a daily show called NASCAR Now, ESPN News, etc. And, man, everybody we talk to says your name, that you know the drivers really well, that you have a great pulse of the news in the sport. You're tuned in the garage and connected in the garage, and you know what's going on. And well, I'd like to talk to you about now, this is not a job offer, but I want you to think about potentially coming over. And you know what I did? I said, oh, man, hey, I'm so grateful. I appreciate you got the wrong Marty. There's a guy named Marty Snyder who is awesome, and that's who you meant to call because he is a baller on TV, and he's very well connected, that's who they're talking about. He goes, no. I know who Marty Snyder is too. They're talking about you. Just think about it. I said, Jack, I've never done TV. I don't know anything about TV. And he said, that doesn't matter. I need who and what you know. I'll teach you TV. And Griff, you've known me a really long time. I'm a guy, I would rather crash and burn and fail knowing I can't than wonder when I'm 75 if I could have. And so I came home and I said to Lainey, I said, baby, I think ESPN just offered me a job. She goes, for what? ESPN.com? I said, no, like to be on TV. And she goes, what? I said, we got to think about this and pray on it. I don't know. But ultimately, man, I knew it was right. Now, did I know that the chess game was going to unfold the way it did? But I mean, there's no way to know that. I'm a grain of sand. And in the Sahara. And I know that. And we could go down a rabbit hole, and I could give you all these different things that happened that led to where I'm currently sitting that are beyond comprehension. But to answer your question simply, no, there is no way that anyone could have guessed that someone who was hired as a NASCAR insider who got 1 minute to 90 seconds of TV a week could end up covering the college football playoff and the Masters. Like, no.
So same time you find out you get this dream job, fast forward, ESPN leaves the sport. You've got to decide, man, if I stay here, I'm not going to cover NASCAR like I always have, which goes back to your dream job when you were in college. I want to do this. Like, what was that like, that transition?
It was crazy because – to your point, you're very astute. To your point, we all knew that NBC.
No.
Yeah. Y'all listen, the man needs some self-confidence. We got to pump up.
That's exactly what he needs is self-confidence.
He has enough of that, I can guarantee you.
I'm actually a little disappointed in y'all. I figured we'd do this about 7:45 at night so I could have a cold in my hand.
I mean, nobody's stopping you now.
I know. All the 97 practices I have to take my kids to later. That's what's stopping me. But so let me walk you through how that unfolded because it's a storybook too. It's kind of crazy. So we knew that NBC was coming into the sport and that ESPN was leaving. And so what do? Do go to Fox or NBC or, and really stay entrenched in the garage, that assuming they even wanted it, right? And stay entrenched in the garage after 17 seasons? Or do I go, man, I'm gonna re-sign at ESPN, who I know still wants me. And hold on a minute, y'all. My dog wants out. Go, pain in my butt. Anyway, so do I stay at ESPN because and bet on myself? And ultimately, that's the decision I made. And I didn't care if I got sent to cover the chainsaw races out in Idaho or the cornhole championships. I was ready to see what was out there for me. Y'all ain't gonna so this is the craziest story ever. So I come home from Miami, Florida, last race of the 2014 NASCAR season. And I walk into my house on a Monday morning. And those of y'all who are road warriors and who are married know this play. You know this act. Your spouse is exhausted. They're just utterly exhausted because they've been on an island. And my wife is a champion. She is such a champion for me chasing my dreams and loving and being the absolute best at what I do. She's not a complainer. That's not who she is. But I come home from that final race in 2014. She had tears in her eyes. She said, Martin, I need you home. We had 8, 5, and 2 at home at the time. And I'd basically been gone 100 of 130 or 40 days. And so I'm like, don't worry, honey. My new contract doesn't start till January 1st. I'm going to be home for 6 weeks. I'm all in. I'm dad. I'm husband. I'm involved. I'm engaged. I sit down on my couch. We put our older 2 in the car for her to take him to school. I sit down on my couch, open up my email, and the very first email in there was from a guy named Lee Fitting. Lee now runs all of football at ESPN. He oversees Monday Night Football, all of our college football coverage, the college football playoff, college game day, all of it. At the time, he was the executive producer of College Game Day. And this email says, hey, Marty, Lee Fitting. My name's Lee Fitting. I'm the executive producer of College Game Day. You belong in college football. Your passion belongs in college football. I want you to start studying because I'm going to embed you with one of the 4 schools that qualifies for the inaugural college football playoff. I was holding I may as well have been reading like Sanskrit or so. I couldn't believe what I was reading because sports-centric people, and look, we can think NASCAR is global all we want. It's still pretty niche. So for someone who is a reporter in a niche sport to be asked to go to one of ESPN's most important platforms like that, it's honestly unheard of. Like imagine Barry Melrose, who covers hockey, all of a sudden being on a field at the NFL playoffs. You kind of be like, when a dog's confused and they kind of cock their head. I think that's how college football fans were when they saw me, the NASCAR guy, embedded with the Ohio State Buckeyes of all teams. So off I went and I studied my tail off, and Ohio State went on to win the national title that year with Ezekiel Elliott and Joey Bosa and Michael Thomas and the whole Cardale Jones movie that got written and Urban Meyer and the whole thing. And a lot of fans were confused and they were like, what in the hell is this? And I had to win them. And I don't blame them for feeling that way because if, as a hardcore college football fan, if somebody that I knew from another sport was covering, I'd be so confused by that. But ultimately it worked. And I can't believe the ride I've been on, dude. I just can't.
You made rednecks proud everywhere. I can tell you that. And speaking of rednecks, we were dirt track racing this weekend, man. Tell me what you thought.
I thought it was killer. The jury was out for me. I was not sold. I was like, I have to see this. I have to see what it really is before I can form an opinion. And I liked it. And with all the crap that the sport had to go through, like what a bummer Sunday was. And then for Monday to be a really good show, I felt like it was a really good show. And I was wearing Junior out the whole. I mean, he and I were texting back and forth the whole race. And, you can hear his opinions on it on his podcast. But, I said to him during the race, I said, I don't know about this. I can't decide if it's awesome or if it's awful. I said, but you know what would be awesome is if Marcus tore the pavement up at Wilkesboro and made it a dirt track. Make it a dirt track. And let's go run there for every year. Let's go run there. And then I couldn't believe, I haven't listened to that podcast yet, but I know Marcus said something about Wilkesboro. So I texted Junior last night. I said, I'm Nostradamus, son. I was right. He's going to do it. But ultimately, I thought it was really cool. What y'all think about it?
I said to Freddie, I was a sports fan this weekend, and had I been racing, I think I'd have been really frustrated had I been a spotter this weekend. But as a fan, I gave it a 100, man. I gave it an A.
Yep.
I
just felt like it was so cool to see. I don't know all the work that Joey Logano or Chase Elliott or some of those guys put in. I know they went and ran dirt modifieds and all that kind of stuff to kind of get the feel and whatnot. But for them to be that, to win, I thought Kyle Larson would lap the field 4 times. That's where I would have put my money.
I think TJ liked it.
Yeah, it's the greatest race ever.
I imagine TJ did like it.
I can tell you this, though.
Congratulations to y'all.
Thank you. Leading up to it, there's probably Joey put in a lot of work, man. Joey's always put a lot of work in, and man, we've had so many conversations about it. What do you think the track? What about this? What about that? There's probably no race we've had more conversations about other than Daytona 500 at the beginning of the year. As far as studying things, there was really nothing to study, but I watched a ton of races during the week when they ran there, the Dirt Nationals or whatever they were called. And I think Joey did as well, just to kind of see where guys would move. But our race actually turned into a way different type race than that. But a lot of prep went into it. So it was nice to have a shot at the end. And man, when they groomed that track a little bit, and for that last 50 laps, and the top came in a little bit, it got a lot closer than I wanted it to be at the end. But it had to be a great show with Denny running the top and making up ground, and Joey rolling the bottom really good. It had to be a great race.
Denny Hamlin's just a freaking stud. I mean, that dude's a wheel.
We agree.
I mean, just a straight up wheel man. And I mean, I don't know what I expected when Denny came in. I knew he was. Let me go back to Junior a minute, because I still find this to be fascinating. What racers see that someone like me who doesn't have that level of knowledge or that level of vision sees. I remember this was probably 2007 or 6. I did a piece on Kyle Busch and how Kyle was the future. And he's this young kid, and Rick Hendricks tabbed him to drive the 5 car, and he's just going to light the sport on fire. He's going to be a great one. And obviously that was a correct a prediction. But I asked Dale Jr. about it one time at a media availability. He goes, Denny Hamlin. I'd never heard of Denny Hamlin. So it must have been before 06. It must have been 05, because Denny came in 06, right? Yeah. I think. So he goes, no. He said, watch this guy, Denny Hamlin. Just remember that name, Denny Hamlin. And I was like, who? Man, there he is. I mean, I can't believe how many wins he has. I can't believe. I'm not in no way, shape, or form am I saying that he's exceeded my expectation. I don't know what my expectations were, but I think he's destined to win a title. They're just awesome everywhere.
I think the Indy race is really the only thing left on his bucket list as far as I got to do this. 3 Daytona 500s, like you said. I mean, the guy has been phenomenal. Look, man, we didn't mean to keep you this long. I love you to death. I'll see your book behind you, Never Settle. If you don't have a copy of that, go, Marty. Tell us what's in that book, man. Tell us why we should buy it.
I'm floored by it, to be honest with you, man. I had the opportunity a couple years ago. My agent called me and said, hey, man, there's a couple of publishers that have reached out who are just intrigued by you and the people that you cover and the stories that you've done on TV and the way that you live your life, at least what they see. And So I flew up to New York and I met with a couple publishers, and 12 Books is my publisher. And Sean Desmond is the guy who I met with. He's my publisher at 12 Books. And we sat up there on Fifth Avenue and we had a conversation, and I decided to do this book, and it's called Never Settle. And basically what it is it's all of these amazing experiences that I've been blessed to have. It's talking about losing your daddy too early with Nick Saban the day you meet him. It's going to China with the most famous athlete on the planet, Cristiano Ronaldo, and learning about his life and trying to humanize him. It's sitting across from Tiger Woods before he won the Masters. This was March 1st, 2018, after he had his back fused, and laughing and crying and learning about all of it. It's all of these amazing experiences. Dale Jr., like discussing one of the greatest lessons I've ever gotten in my life was from Junior. Shut up. I'll tell you that story real quick. In 2012, I did an interview with Jeff Gordon at Daytona. And I felt like I had prepared well for this interview, and I wasn't going to let Jeff veer off of the path that I wanted the interview to go. And when that happened, I would cut Jeff off and I would try to steer it back my way. Well, I thought I was just some kind of badass because I felt like it went really well. A couple of weeks later, the piece airs at Loudon, New Hampshire. And after the race, I was outside the 88 car. Shocking. ESPN wanted some Junior sound after the race. And there's probably 25 reporters out there with me, 25 reporters. And Junior gets out of the car, and I don't know what drivers are looking at when they get out, and they're like looking at the car after the race. What the hell are they looking at? Anyway, so he's like looking at his car, and he turns and looks at me, and he kind of gives me one of these come here things. And I'm like, me? So I walk over to him, and he kind of pushes me up to the edge of the transporter and turns his back to the crowd. And he goes, "You need to shut up." And I said, "Excuse me?" I mean, y'all know, like that dude's like my brother. I'm like, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You need to shut up, man. You need to stop interrupting people." I said, "What the hell are you talking about?" He goes, "I was watching that interview you did with Jeff, and there were things he was saying that I wanted to hear his opinion. I wanted to hear him finish, and you cut him off. You need to stop cutting people off. It's rude." And I felt about an inch tall. And you want to know why I felt an inch tall? Because I knew he was right.
That's a Dale Sr. moment for Dale Jr. Like, that's something that Dale Sr. would have done to somebody.
It completely changed my entire approach, guys, because I stopped interviewing people with insecurity and I started interviewing people with confidence. Because when you're willing to let someone ask open-ended questions and let someone tell you their story, then ultimately you have your mouth shut and your ears open and you're listening. And it was honestly one of the greatest things a friend could ever do for me. And he hates when he's like, "Man, stop telling that damn story about me telling you to shut up."
Dude, I love it. Last question, because it's got to be a follow-up.
You mind if any of us get any questions in?
I'm sorry, man. I had to see talk to Marty White. Last question from me, Marty. All those people you just named, all those big, you and I are sports freaks. Somebody had to have freaked you out when that name came across your desk and said, "Hey, you're getting ready to go spend a bunch of time with this person." Which one made you nervous? Like, one of those had to have scared you.
I don't really get nervous, but I'll tell you, Tiger was a unique one because I just didn't know what I was gonna get. Like, am I gonna be able to kind of crack this code? And let me tell you guys the greatest story. So, all right. So last race of 2017 back to Miami. It's Junior's last race, right? He gets out of the 88 car, and I go over to interview him for Sports Center. Y'all may remember this interview. I don't know. But we're standing beside his race car, and I interview his crews all around, and they're slamming Red Label buds, and everybody's just enjoying them, which is what Junior wanted. He wanted to have this authentic moment with his boys, with the guys that have sacrificed to make him better in his career. And it was just this beautiful scene. Well, I go in and I probably said 8 words, 10 words in the whole interview. And he was just beautiful. He had this beautiful vulnerability about him. And he hits me, when the interview's over, he hits me on the chest. He goes, "What we going to do now?" I said, "Well, what we're going to do is we're going to shotgun one of them Budweisers. Throw me one of them damn Budweisers." So out of the nothingness, out of the night comes this Budweiser, and I catch it and I crack it open. And, me and him slam these buds on this goddamn pelt show. And so fast forward back to Tiger. I'm in the clubhouse at Medalist Golf Club down in Florida. That's Tiger's home course. And I'm going over this list of 10 questions that I want to ask him, like these topics that I want to get to. And this shadow washes across the doorway. And I look up into my left, and it's Tiger freaking Woods. And I don't care whether you love golf or not. I love golf. Whether you it's Tiger. He's the most dominant athlete, certainly of his era, and maybe ever. I mean, he's in the conversation forever. And for whatever reason, in behind Tiger Woods is Larry Fitzgerald. I think they had a Nike thing that day or something. But anyway, Tiger comes in, and I hop up, and I'm like, man, all right, here we go. So I go to shake his hand, and he grabs my hand, and he kind of gives me this bro hug. So he goes, "You know what?" He said, "I got to tell you something." He said, one of the best things I've ever seen on ESPN. I said, "What?" He goes, "Man, when you shotgunned that beer with Dale Earnhardt Jr. after his race," he goes, that was awesome. And I'm sitting there going, "Tiger, me and you going to get along just fine, brother." And y'all, I'm not even kidding you. From that moment, he was so gracious to me. He agreed to give me 20 minutes. We went almost 40. And it was just the most surreal time. And since then, I've been blessed to interview him several times subsequently. And he's just been so gracious to me. And I don't know why, but I'm very grateful for that. Ronaldo was interesting. Saban was interesting the first time, but me and him have gotten pretty close. So, certainly there's people who have intimidating presences. Is presences a word? I'm going to make it one if it's not. Yeah, it is in the country.
So obviously I don't have the relationship. Well, we've never met, obviously, and we'll have to change that next time the three of us are in the same place because I think we all have a common interest in beer. But so, going back and trying to figure out, what the hell I was going to talk to you about, there's a buddy of mine that you may know, and he fed me a little bit of information. He wanted me to ask you about what it was like to drive a $300,000 Aston Martin, and then you could tell me if this is the same story because he said something about there was a curb at In-N-Out maybe?
Okay, so I don't know what ESPN and Formula One were thinking, but last weekend they sent Ryan McGee and me to Beverly Hills, California, and handed us a $300,000 Aston Martin Vantage drop top and said, "Drive it around LA so we can capture some content." And, of the assignments I've gotten, that one may be the tip of the spear for I ain't going to ask any questions because they might figure me out. Well, we did. We drove all around LA and we captured a bunch of content, and that thing will get up and go. I felt like a pansy. I don't know if I had the traction control on or what, but we were on the 8th story of this parking garage, and I'm like, screw, I ain't going to have a however many 100 horsepower car and not try to light this thing up.
Exactly.
And I tried my tail, and I failed. I somehow left all this rubber, but I couldn't get it. I wanted to do a donuts, man, and I just couldn't get it to spin. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Lack of talent, I guess. But look, McGee can say whatever he wants about me curbing it at the In-N-Out, but he knows the truth. If he wants to talk about curbing that Aston Martin, tell him to go find a mirror. I'm gonna leave it there because I don't want to out him too bad. But let's just say he about knocked the damn front off that thing.
And just to be clear, there's no truth in the rumor you guys have changed the name of the show to Matt and McGee.
Mark and McGee.
Oh, Mark. He said Matt.
Yeah, we did an interview on KTLA at 7:30 in the morning out there on the west side. And this sweet reporter, she was wonderful. She goes, "And now we're joined by Mark and McGee." And he and I just played it up. And McGee was like, "Oh yeah, Mark and I talk about it all the time." So
that played right to Mariah McGee's personality to throw them that bone. Man. Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, can we have you back on the show like every week and share a different story that you have? Because I feel inspired now. This is awesome.
Well, honestly, I appreciate that. Thank you. Honestly, like back to that book just a second. I'm not sitting here trying to sell them, but the entire reason for writing it was I've been so fortunate in my life and blessed by people who've given me opportunity in myriad different ways. I also, it's as vulnerable as I've ever been. I admit a lot of warts. I admit insecurities that I have and continue to battle. I really dive deep into losing my mama and daddy too early and what that really did to me and how much it messed with my head and how I had to really find myself. And I will tell you guys this. Selfishly, of course, when you're an author, you want like the New York Times bestseller title. But that can't define your work. I was blessed to get that title. And thank you to everybody who's supported that book. It means the world to me. But what really matters is the letters that show up. I don't know how people get my address. That's a little different. But anyway, the letters that show up in Laney in my mailbox or that show up at ESPN that say, thank you so much for writing those words. You saved my life. Or thank you so much for saying what you said because it impacted me deeply. It changed my perspective. It saved me in a lot of ways. And I know about that vulnerability. I'll never forget. I mean, a lot of y'all know, like Eric Church is one of my dearest friends. And he's always told me the night before an album came out, how insecure he felt, how anxious he was. And I'm like, what the hell for? You know, the work's great. And it's vulnerability. Anything worth its salt is vulnerable. And if you're willing to put that energy out into the world, then you have to be okay with whatever energy comes back to you, no matter what it is, because it's real. And that's a terrifying prospect. But when it works, man, it's special. And we've been able to give 2 college scholarships with that book.
That's awesome, man. That's good stuff,
We're
man.
Blessed.
That's awesome. Well, we love you, brother. Good to see you. Let's catch up and grab a beer and on a boat ride here coming soon. Surely this rain will go away from Charlotte at some point.
Be careful with that pollen. Good Lord Almighty. I mean, I need a Zyrtec deal. Anyway, y'all are one. Thank you for listening to all my drivel. I appreciate it. I miss you guys. I love the sport so much. And what you guys do, passion is undefeated. And like we control 3 things every day: kindness, effort, and passion. That's us. That's us. We decide. And y'all's passion for the sport matters because it resonates. And I appreciate that. I love it. Be good. Everybody stay safe. I appreciate you. And thank you for your friendship. Appreciate y'all.
Time for Reaction Theater, and it looks like we have some Joey fans calling in. First caller.
Joey Logano wins because TJ can't see through the dirt to spot him. That's correlation, not causation.
I never heard that word.
I never heard the second one. I heard correlation before.
Yeah. Next one.
The wrecks on Sunday were like Freddie's belly. Huge. But it was hard to deal with Logano winning. TJ, you suck.
Oh, that was great. Another Joey call from Bob.
People don't like TJ. Dang.
Joey Logano finally won. Go Joey. TJ, you're still
I don't understand why they're all about TJ. Like, come on, Brett sucks too sometimes. So does Freddie.
God. Yeah, but people like us.
Next one.
I've never hated anybody in racing more than I hate Joey Logano. But that makes sense because, TJ, you're his spotter. Anybody that listens to you has to be blonde. I mean, just look at Joey's wife. She looks like she could be his twin sister.
Doesn't make any sense at all.
I think it is his twin sister.
Hey, TJ, were you hated this much when you were Dale spotter?
No, we could wreck the field.
I was going to say, do no wrong over there.
Yeah,
that's why I don't understand why they keep putting Joey in the booth. Like, the fans don't like Joey Logano, and Fox is putting him in the dirt track booth when he's not even a dirt track racer. I'm like, give me a dirt track guy. People just don't like y'all, TJ. What have you done to people?
I don't know. Guess just win too much or something.
This next one should be good.
Yeah, next one.
I just watched a giant wreck happen right in front of Martin Truex Jr., and he did a great job of avoiding it, but the real MVP is Quinn Hoff for not running into the back of him. Yeehaw, future champion.
I was really, really disappointed that we didn't get to run the Cup Heat races with old Quinn Huff on the pole.
I told you that. I'm like, we just got screwed. We were going to see Quinn Huff start on the pole of a race, and it was going to be good next year.
Call number 6. Oh.
No, that's Quinn Huff. Bless his heart.
He actually wasn't a factor, good or bad. Really?
Boy, I tell you, that Denny Hamlin, he about a free lunch. I know a couple of y'all are up his ass, but I mean, well, at 22, I should have been more aggressive over when he was, Shut your ass. If you're going to put him in the fence, put him in the fence. Quit about it.
Jared, you just offended
Jared.
most of this table right now.
Shut the heck. Nobody likes you, Jared. You're blocked.
That was me.
Block that number.
I called in. That was me disguising my voice.
Mason.
Brett, I ain't got a problem with you. You're cool. Freddie, get to fucking Hamlin already. We all know you want to. Just get it over with. TJ, I love you. Can you sign my Joey diecast, please?
TJ, somebody likes you.
Yeah, Mason.
We found one.
Was that your,
I'm 13 years old, but I like it.
Was that an adjective or?
I think it was.
A verb?
It was a verb.
I was worried that it might have been a verb.
It's a verb.
That's an interesting point of view, Mason.
Steven has some comments for Freddie.
Oh, wow.
Freddie, how you going to let your driver hit a truck that stopped on top of the track a half a lap away from him?
What an idiot!
Oh, that might be my new favorite one.
That was a good one.
Don't forget to leave an audio message 24/7. You can go to anchor.fm/doorbumperclear and click the message icon.
Garrett, a.k.a. Steven.
That was Garrett at the end.
That was Garrett. That's Steven. That's Steven.
Oh, cannot wait to hear the best ones next week on the show.
Offer pad question of the week.
Offer pad question of the week. With the Easter holiday approaching, do you usually host family at your home for different holidays? And where does everyone usually hang out when they're over? TJ.
I would have to say the living room. Living room's a decent sized living room. Like I talked before, it's turned into one of my favorite rooms in the couch because my wife bought a new couch and it's awesome. So living room.
Is it as big as Freddie's couch?
Probably not as big as Freddie's, but since Freddie always cooks for his family and he's always in the kitchen, his favorite's probably the kitchen where he hangs out.
It's pretty much the same room in my house. My kitchen and my living room are all kind of wide open. But just from now on, my family's not allowed over because the last event they came to was Christmas and I got COVID. So nope, I'll come see you if I want to hang out with you guys anymore. But yeah, we hang out kitchen and living room the whole time pretty much.
Brett.
Yeah, my kitchen and living room are pretty much one big open room, so that's kind of where we kick it. I usually do all the cooking, and yeah, man, I usually have all the family over to my house. It's got a nice little backyard, and
what about you? Got a casting couch now, so
we usually hang out in the garage. I don't know.
Well, there's Fireball in my garage. So,
what do you call that room again? What was it called?
RPG room.
Yeah, the RPG room.
Yeah, the RPG room, which is thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, the Fireball usually gets attacked pretty bad, and we sneak it like nobody knows we're doing it.